They promised the American dream on four wheels: chrome-wrapped freedom, horsepower-fueled adventure, and the open road calling your name. But behind those gleaming grills and seductive curves lurked mechanical nightmares that turned Sunday drives into final rides. These weren't just cars with quirks. They were rolling death traps disguised as automotive masterpieces. If you think modern cars have problems, wait until you see what Detroit unleashed on unsuspecting families in the name of progress and profit. Number 10, 1971 to 1974. Pontiac Ventura II. What seemed like an affordable gateway to American automotive pride became a terrifying lesson in corner-cutting catastrophe. Built on the Chevy Nova platform, the Ventura II promised compact efficiency without breaking the bank. Instead, it delivered a masterclass in how to make a car structurally weaker than a house of cards in a hurricane. The frame was so flimsy that even minor fender benders turned into passenger compartment invasions. Front-end collisions caused the entire structure to fold inward like origami, leaving occupants trapped in a shrinking metal cage. Side impacts were even worse. Doors buckled like tin cans, and the poorly anchored seatbelts often failed completely, turning restraints into false hope. Emergency responders quickly learned to expect the worst when they saw a crumpled Ventura II. The car's inability to absorb crash energy meant every joule of impact transferred directly to human bodies. One paramedic grimly noted it wasn't built to protect passengers, it was built to protect profits. Number 9, 1982 to 1983. Dodge 400 Convertible. Chrysler's K-car desperation produced this structural nightmare that redefined what it meant to feel unsafe at any speed. The 400 Convertible's chassis was so weak that driving over railroad tracks felt like riding a mechanical bull having a seizure. The car literally twisted and flexed beneath your feet, creating a sensation that seasoned drivers described as piloting a wet noodle. The Convertible's soft top wasn't just cosmetic, it was the only thing between passengers and certain death in a rollover. With zero structural reinforcement, the flimsy fabric roof would collapse instantly, offering about as much protection as a beach umbrella in a tornado. The car's tendency to flex also destroyed wheel alignment, making it handle like a shopping cart with 3 working wheels. Owners reported the terrifying experience of feeling their car bend around corners, with dashboard gaps opening and closing like the vehicle was breathing. It wasn't just uncomfortable, it was genuinely dangerous, as the structural instability could cause sudden handling failures that left drivers helpless. Number 8, 1955. Chrysler Imperial. This luxury flagship was supposed to represent the pinnacle of American automotive refinement, but its revolutionary power steering system turned every highway journey into a white-knuckle survival test. The over-assisted steering was so vague and disconnected that drivers felt like they were steering a yacht through thick fog while wearing boxing gloves. At highway speeds, the Imperial steering provided zero road feedback, making lane changes feel like leaps of faith. The system was so sensitive that breathing on the wheel could send the massive car lurching unexpectedly. Combined with drum brakes that couldn't stop the beast's momentum, the Imperial became a guided missile with a drunk pilot. The car's weight distribution and stiff suspension created a handling nightmare that made emergency maneuvers nearly impossible. Drivers described the experience as wrestling with a 2-ton ghost that had its own agenda. The Imperial looked like luxury incarnate, but drove like a beautiful chrome-plated death sentence on wheels. Number 7, 1975 to 1980. Chevrolet Monza. GM's attempt to cram V8 power into a compact Vega-based platform created a rolling fire hazard that turned routine commutes into potential cremation ceremonies. The Monza's cramped engine bay couldn't handle the heat, generated by its powerful engine, causing chronic overheating that stressed every component to the breaking point. The car's electrical system was a ticking time bomb. Wiring harnesses regularly melted near the firewall, creating short circuits that could ignite the entire vehicle without warning. Owners reported dashboard temperatures hot enough to literally cook food, while the smell of burning insulation became an unwelcome but familiar companion. The structural weakness inherited from the Vega platform meant the Monza was prone to catastrophic failures. Parts would warp and crack under the constant thermal stress, while electrical fires could erupt spontaneously. One owner's haunting description captured the experience perfectly. It was a good car until it wasn't. And when it wasn't, it tried to kill you. Number 6. 1966 Dodge Polara. This muscle car monster packed enough power to launch you into the stratosphere, but lacked the engineering to bring you back down alive. The Polara's massive V8 could deliver breathtaking acceleration, but its handling characteristics were better suited for straight-line drag racing than actual road driving. The steering was so vague and unresponsive that high-speed cornering became a game of Russian roulette. The car's tendency to fishtail was legendary, not if it would happen, but when. The rear suspension couldn't cope with the engine's torque, causing the back end to break loose without warning, especially on wet roads. Brake fade was a constant threat. After just a few hard stops, the braking system would overheat and become nearly useless, leaving drivers unable to slow down when it mattered most. The Polara demanded respect through fear, teaching handling lessons in the most unforgiving way possible. It was a car that could make you feel like a hero right up until the moment it made you feel like a victim. Number 5. 1974 to 1978 AMC Matador Coupe. Richard Teague's styling exercise created a car so obsessed with dramatic looks that it forgot to include basic visibility. The Matador's flying buttress rear pillars were so massive that backing up required faith, prayer, and an excellent insurance policy. Drivers literally couldn't see what was behind or beside them. The structural integrity was laughably inadequate. Inside impacts, the doors would jam shut, trapping occupants inside what essentially became a metal tomb. The B-pillars were decorative at best, offering no real protection when the car's compromised structure inevitably failed. The driving experience was equally terrifying. The front-heavy design created unpredictable handling that could switch from understeer to violent oversteer without warning. In wet conditions, the Matador became a 4,000-pound hockey puck sliding across the road with no regard for driver input. The braking system was notoriously unreliable, with brake lines prone to corrosion and master cylinders that failed without warning. Number 4. 1964 to 1966 Ford Thunderbird. This luxury icon embodied everything seductive and deadly about 1960s automotive design. The Thunderbird's flowing lines and sophisticated presence made it a favorite among the elite, but its complete lack of safety features turned every drive into a potential final journey. The car's weight and size made it incredibly difficult to control in emergency situations. With no crumple zones, crash energy transferred directly to occupants through the rigid structure. The polished metal dashboard was essentially a battering ram waiting to crush skulls in frontal collisions. The Thunderbird's sheer mass worked against it in rollover scenarios, while the lack of side impact protection meant T-bone collisions were often fatal. The car's beautiful chrome trim became deadly shrapnel during crashes, turning luxury appointments into instruments of destruction. It was a vehicle that promised glamour, but delivered devastation with elegant efficiency. Number 3. 1978 to 1981 Mercury Zephyr. This unremarkable sedan was perhaps the most insidious killer on American roads precisely because it looked so harmless. Built on Ford's Fox platform, the Zephyr appeared to be a sensible family car, but its structural deficiencies made it a death trap disguised as suburban transportation. Side impacts were the Zephyr's Achilles heel. The car lacked reinforced door beams and proper side impact management, causing doors to fold inward like collapsing tents during T-bone collisions. The B-pillars would shift inward, crushing occupants against interior trim. The car's electrical system was a fire hazard waiting to happen. Poorly insulated wiring harnesses regularly short-circuited, causing interior fires that could trap occupants in burning vehicles. The braking system was equally problematic, with spongy pedal feel and frequent brake fade that made stopping a constant gamble. The Zephyr earned its nickname not through flashy danger, but through quiet, persistent lethality. Number 2, 1970 to 1972, Oldsmobile Toronado. GM's revolutionary front-wheel drive muscle car was an engineering marvel that solved problems nobody asked for while creating new ones that could kill you. The Toronado's massive 455 cubic inch V8 sent over 400 pound-feet of torque through the front wheels, creating a handling nightmare that defied physics and common sense. Torque steer wasn't just a characteristic, it was a weapon. Under acceleration, the steering wheel would jerk violently, fighting the driver for control. The front tires, already overloaded with steering duties, would lose traction on anything less than perfect pavement, sending the car into unpredictable slides. The car's weight distribution and high center of gravity made it prone to violent pitching. Under hard braking, the front end would dive dramatically while the rear would lift, causing the car to twitch and wander dangerously. It was a vehicle that wanted to run fast but lacked the discipline to run safely, making every drive feel like you were piloting a runaway locomotive. Number 1, 1960 to 1964, Ford Falcon. America's economy car champion was built so cheaply that it made tissue paper seem structurally sound. The Falcon's body panels were so thin you could almost see through them, while its frame was designed with the crash protection of a cardboard box in a blender. In front-end collisions, the Falcon didn't just crumple, it folded completely. The suspension would collapse into the firewall, the steering column would bend like a pretzel, and the entire front end would accordion into the passenger compartment. The car literally folded in half, earning its grim nickname from survivors who lived to tell the tale. The Falcon's front suspension was equally treacherous. Under stress, it could fail catastrophically, causing the front end to drop like a trapdoor while the wheels tucked under like a frightened animal. This wasn't just a handling quirk, it was a death sentence at highway speeds. These weren't just cars with problems, they were mechanical nightmares that made every journey a potential obituary. The automotive industry learned from these deadly mistakes, but not before they claimed countless lives on American roads. These weren't just cars with problems, they were mechanical nightmares that made every journey a potential obituary. The automotive industry learned from these deadly mistakes, but not before they claimed countless lives on American roads.